Okay.
Okay, you got the brother up at the house. You're talking to him about asking him what's the program for black people, tying him up with the knots.
Yes, I think I should mention that my memory has played tricks on me. This was really in 62, not even in 64, and that becomes important as I'll explain later. But we got Malcolm to the house, and we thought we had him cornered, and we asked him all the questions that we thought were pertinent. You know, what is your program offering black people, really? Do we all have to join and become black Muslims to participate in your kingdom? Or is there a program that you have that affects all black folks, basically because we're black? He never really answered that problem, that question. We learned later, of course, that that whatever economic program they had was a rather limited one, and wouldn't really solve all of our problems. And he had some thoughts, but he was very careful not to let his thoughts get ahead of what he thought was Elijah Muhammad's thoughts and policies on the question. And when we would, we run him into a corner, he would say, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, hold it, brother, hold it now. We're not talking to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're talking to you. What do you think, Malcolm, we should do? And on one occasion, he said, look, I am like the man who goes inside the lion's cave to rescue the brother that is supposed to be the lion's next meal. Now, the brother wants to know what you're going to do. And the man, I can't tell the brother what my plans are, how I intend to rescue him, because the lion is listening. So we have ideas, we have plans, but we can't tell everybody now because the enemy will find out. Well, the truth was that they had not really worked out a sufficiently broad economic plan. But it did indicate to us the kind of person Malcolm was. And those of us who were there became his friends because we knew there was an honest, earnest, dedicated young brother. And we had seen many leaders, white and black, and had been able to gauge their integrity, their honesty, and their degree of commitment. And while we loved all the leaders and we worked for all the leaders, Malcolm was by far morally the most pure person that we ever ran across.
Now, go forward in time, since that was 62, go forward to the March on Washington and tell me about how Malcolm was there. I'd never heard that before. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, before I get that, let me say something else that happened in 62. At that time, we were doing Pearly Victorious, my play, on Broadway. And the Muslims did not believe in theater. They did not want their membership to participate in theater or go to those places, which were a waste of time. Malcolm somehow managed to come to see a matinee. He came by himself. And I think it sort of sneaked away because Elijah Muhammad probably wouldn't have wanted him to show up at the theater. He saw Pearly Victorious, which of course had a lot of laughs in it. And he came back, he said, I think you're trying to do with laughter what I'm trying to do by any other means necessary. You really are zinging the man, and I appreciate that. He said, man, I saw the play and I liked it. I'll do anything I could to help you, except that if I said something in favor of the play, no white folks would ever show up at the box office again. So the best thing I can do for you is to keep my mouth shut. But I really enjoyed the play. That was in 62. If you remember now, in 63, one of the biggest events was the big march on Washington that took place in August. Bayard Rustin had asked Ruby and me to serve as master of ceremonies at the Washington Memorial, Washington Monument part of the program. And we had agreed. And when time came for us to go down to Washington the night before the march, a part of our responsibility was to report to a hotel room where Bayard was going to run all of us through what the program would be for the next day in a hotel room. A. Philip Randolph was there, Whitney Young was there, Martin Luther King, Roy Wilkins, John Henry Lewis were all there. Everybody except Jim Farmer was in that particular room. Now, when Ruby and I came to the hotel and we got off at the floor where the conference was to be held, and we were going through the hallway to get to the room. To our great surprise, there, standing in the hallway, talking to a reporter, was Malcolm X. And this amazed us because Malcolm had made statements against the March on Washington, how this integration, these so-called Negroes, and made a deal with the Kennedys and all that sort of thing, and they should be out doing other things. No, here we are marching and all that, demonstrating. Here was Malcolm in the hallway. And we listened to the reporter who was baiting him, and talking, why did you show up? And Malcolm was saying, well, whatever black folks do, maybe I don't agree with any of it, but whatever black folks do, I'm going to be there, brother, because that's where I belong. We went on into the room and participated in the meeting, getting ready for the next day. The reporter came in, and after there was a break, and announced that Malcolm X was out in the hall, and he was castigating the black leadership and talking about the march and how did that affect. How did we feel about that? How did Martin Luther King feel? How did all the other... Roy Wilkins, of all people, told the reporter, said, look, we know Malcolm X, and we're not surprised that he's out there. And whatever he says, it doesn't insult or hurt us. We have business to take care of. And if that's all you can bring from the meeting with Malcolm X, the conversation is closed. Please, leave. We got work to do. They understood, although nobody articulated it then, that a part of what Malcolm was involved in was a part of a grand strategy. Martin and the regular civil rights leaders were presenting to America our best face, our non-violent face, our desire to be included into American society. And we wanted to show the world that we had no evil intentions against anybody. We just wanted to be included. But they also understood that America, in spite of our reassurances, would be frightened and hesitant to open the doors to black folks. So Malcolm, as the outsider, as the man they thought represented the possibilities of violence, was the counter that they could use. They would say to the powers that be, look, here's Martin Luther King and all these guys, we are nonviolent. Now outside the door, if you don't deal with us, is the other brother. And he ain't like us. You're gonna really have hell on your hands when you get to dealing with Malcolm. So it behooves you, white America, in order to escape Malcolm, to deal with us. That was the strategy. And to some degree, it worked. And Malcolm was always involved somewhere in the struggle. And I remember near the end, in January of 1965, when he attended the funeral of Lorraine Hansberry, and he was asking us, Ruben and myself, to arrange an introduction to Paul Robeson, who was there at the time. And I think maybe it was that same month that Juanita Poitier set up a meeting at her house for the regular civil rights leaders to meet with Malcolm X, to work out the differences between us so we could come from that meeting with a common platform. Once again, A. Philip Randolph was there, Whitney Young was there, Dorothy Height was there, Malcolm X was there, several others were there. Martin Luther King couldn't make it, but he sent a representative. And we spent that day discussing Malcolm's philosophy, the mistakes he made, what he wanted to do now, and how he could get on board the people's struggle that was taking place. No, he moved, he grew, he developed. And at that meeting, we saw that Malcolm was truly dedicated to the progress of black people, and to the point where he was prepared to modify even his philosophy to the best of his ability, to take back what he had said against the white folks. Although he did say, I do not think all white folks are evil now, but some of you are, and I'm going to keep on at it until you, whoever you are, grant us the respect that we are due as fellow human beings.
Well, now at that meeting,